Okay, salut, hi again. So this is the last video now, I promise, on pronouns. So if you've been following the pronoun videos all along, you'll know that we have direct object pronouns. They replace the direct object of a sentence. We have me, te, le, la, nu, vous, les. We have indirect object pronouns. They replace the indirect object of a sentence. So basically, if you're saying to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them. So the indirect object pronoun replaces aggrav plus a person, plus the name of a person. So it's typically when you have a verb followed by preposition aggrav followed by a person. Then we looked at the prepositions, those indirect object pronouns as well were me, te, lui, nous, vous, and leur. Then we looked at the preposition I, which is y, and that replaces aggrav plus a place or a thing, never a person. So I replaces aggrav plus a place or a thing. So typically it means there or about it. Okay. We go to Paris. Nous allons à Paris. We go there. Nous y allons. And then the preposition, or the pronoun, I should say, en, means of it or some. Okay, some. So I need the car. Okay, j'ai besoin de la voiture. So en replaces de plus a thing. So it's de plus a thing that en replaces. So j'ai besoin de la voiture. J'en ai besoin. I need it. Okay? Now, I know some of you have been thinking about this already. Yes, it is possible to use a direct and an indirect object pronoun in the same sentence. A double pronoun. One can only dream. So we won't get too far ahead of ourselves, but who knows, we might be able to use two pronouns in the same sentence when we get more practice in. It would be amazing, but look, getting one in is fantastic as well. So let me show you some examples. Je donne les clés à maman. I give the keys to mom. The keys are a direct object pronoun. To mom is an indirect object pronoun. How do I know that's indirect object? Because it's donner à plus a person. To give to. So remember, an indirect object pronoun is replacing à plus the name of a person. Okay, so à maman. So I give the keys, that's my direct object. To mom, that's my indirect object of my sentence. So let's replace the keys and to mom with a direct object pronoun and an indirect object pronoun. So instead of saying I give the keys to mom, I want to say I give them to her. Okay, so I give them. Them is my direct object pronoun. What are my direct object pronouns? Me, te, le, la, nu, vous, les. Les is them. So I give them. Je les. Now, all I need to do now is get to her. So that's an indirect object pronouns. What are my indirect object pronouns? Me, te, lui. So lui. So je les lui donne. I give them to her. Okay, now in English we put the direct object pronouns and the indirect object pronouns after the verb. In French, they put it before it. What have you noticed here in this sentence with the double pronoun? You will have noticed that the direct object pronoun always comes before the indirect object pronoun. Okay? So, je l'ai lui donne. So my direct object comes first, then my indirect object. Another example that we used earlier, where we could have actually used a double pronoun, was this example. J'envoie les cadeaux à mes amis. I send presents to my friends. So I send presents. Presents are my direct object of my sentence. To my friends is my indirect object because it's aggrav plus the name of a person. Envoyer à, to send to. So instead of saying I send presents to my friends, I want to say I send them to them every year. So I send them replacing my presents. So that's direct object. Me, te, le, la, nu, vous, les. So je les, that's my direct object pronoun. I send them to them. That's indirect object. So that's me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. Leur to them. So je les leur envoie. So as you can see, direct object pronoun comes first, followed by indirect object pronoun. So this is just a very easy table showing you the position of all of the pronouns because we've done I and un. So what's the priority? What comes first? Obviously, the subject of the sentence comes first. Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, or elle. They're the subject pronouns that we learned day one in first year. Then you have any reflexive pronouns. Me, te, ce, nous. Forget about that anyway. Okay, remember, direct object first, indirect object, I, un, and then your verb. So the easiest way to remember it is you have your subject, je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, or elle. Always follow it then with your direct object, indirect, I, and un. Basically, lads, it's the pattern that we learnt them in. We did direct object first, then we did indirect object, then we did I, then we did un, and then your verb. Okay? So, direct object, indirect object, I, un, verb. Now, if you're using a sentence and you're using it in the negative, and you're using all these subject pronouns and indirect and all those pronouns, the ne will always come directly after the subject pronoun, je, tu, il, nous, vous, il. And the pas will always come after the verb. So basically, the ne will come first, the pas will come last. So, je ne donne pas les clés à maman. I don't give the keys to mom. I don't give them to her. Je ne. Now notice my ne is coming before my direct object pronoun, les, and it's coming before my indirect object pronoun, lui. Then I have my verb, and then pas will come last. So you have your je, then straight away your negative ne, and put your pas last. Okay? Some more examples of where you can use two pronouns in a sentence. Je le, lui, expliquerai. I will explain it to him. It is replacing my direct object. It could be the story, the problem, okay? Anything like that. To him, that could be to dad. It could be to Paul, to the teacher. Okay, so that's replacing an indirect object pronoun because it's agrave plus the name of a person. Je le lui prête. I lend it to her. That could mean to him as well. So the le is referring to it. That could be the book, the desk, the mobile phone, anything, the ticket. Okay, to him, to her. That could be the sister, to my brother, to my father, to my mother. Il nous l'a envoyé. Okay, he sent it to us. Okay, now nous is a pronoun that's common to both direct and indirect object pronouns. Okay, as we know, you have nous in both the direct and the indirect object pronoun list. So nous actually comes first. If you look at the table back here, okay, the direct and the indirect objects have some pronouns in common. They have me, te in common, right? So they'll always come first. Then they'd separate out. Direct object has le or la, whereas indirect object changes to lui. Then they come back to the similar again. They have nous and vous, and then direct has les, whereas indirect has leur. Okay? Anyway, please do not get bogged down with that. So some more examples before I finish up. Je donne le livre à David. I give the book to David. The book is direct object. To David, indirect object, because it's a plus a person. So I give the book to David. I give it to him. I'm dropping the book and I'm replacing it with it. So le. So je le. To David. À David. I'm replacing that with an indirect object pronoun to him. So that's lui. Je le lui donne. We go to the park, or we don't go to the park, I should say. So I want to say we don't go there. All right. So we don't go to the park. Nous n'allons pas au parc. It's à plus le parc, to the park. That's replacing à plus a place or a thing. So that's the pronoun I. We don't go to the park. We don't go there. So I replace to the park with the pronoun I, which means there. Put it before your verb. Nous n'y allons pas. Okay, so some quick revision of the pronouns. Subject pronouns replace the name of a person, okay, or a thing. You learned them back in first year. Je, tu, il, elle, nous, vous, il, or elle. So Sophie va en vacances. Sophie goes on holidays. Elle va en vacances. She goes on holidays. The subject pronouns always come before the verbs. That's fine. Your direct object pronouns replace the direct object of the sentence. Me, te, le, la, nu, vu, les. Me, you, him, her, us, ye, them. Je vois le garçon, I see the boy. Je le vois, I see him. Indirect object pronouns replace the indirect object of a sentence. So you're typically replacing adjective plus a person. Okay, so it's typically a verb followed by adjective. So to me, to you, to him, to her, to us, to ye, to them. Me, te, lui, nous, vous, leur. Je donne le livre à ma sœur. I give the book to my sister. Okay, je lui donne le livre. I give it. I give the book to her. I give the book to her. So je lui donne le livre. Okay, I means there, and it replaces adjective plus a place or a thing. Okay, never a person. So je suis allé à Cork. I went to Cork. Cork, a plus a place. Replace it with I. So j'y suis allé. J'irai à Londres. I will go to London. I will go there. J'y irai. J'y irai, I should say. Je pense aux cadeaux. I'm thinking about them. Okay, I'm thinking about them, the lovely gifts I got. So replace adjective plus a thing with I. J'y pense. I'm thinking about them. Il est allé à la bibliothèque. Il y est allé. He went there. Un replaces de, the preposition de plus a thing. And it means some or of it. J'ai besoin d'argent. I need some money. J'en ai besoin. Il achète du pain. He buys some bread. Il en achète. Tu as du fromage. You have some cheese. You have some. Tu en as. Okay? So remember, it's direct, indirect, I, en, verb. Keep it simple. All right? I hope that helps.